The numbers dropped this morning. At precisely 8:30 a.m. Eastern, the Bureau of Labor Statistics released the December employment report. And what it revealed should terrify every worker, every investor, and every family trying to survive in this economy. They told you the labor market added 50,000 jobs. They told you unemployment fell to 4.4%. They are lying. Not with false numbers, but with a statistical illusion so sophisticated that most people will never see through it. The worst jobs year since 2003 just ended, and 2026 is about to get much, much worse. 50,000 jobs. That sounds like growth, but the United States economy needs approximately 100,000 jobs per month just to keep pace with population growth. 50,000 means we are falling behind. And that number? Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell himself admitted the government data is likely overestimating job gains by 60,000 per month due to failures in their statistical models. Do the math. 50,000 reported minus 60,000 overestimate equals negative 10,000. The economy is not adding jobs. It is losing them. It has been losing them since April, and they have been covering it up with broken algorithms and seasonal adjustments. The full-year picture is devastating. In 2025, the United States added 584,000 jobs total. That is 49,000 per month. Compare that to 2024, when the economy added 2 million jobs, averaging 168,000 per month. Compare it to the post-COVID years when the economy was adding 400,000 jobs per month. This is the weakest year for employment growth outside of a recession since 2003. Even 2010, in the depths of the Great Recession, saw better job creation, but it gets worse. In August, the BLS quietly released a benchmark revision showing the economy had added 818,000 fewer jobs than initially reported. Then in September, they cut another 911,000 jobs, the largest downward adjustment on record. Combined, that is 1.7 million phantom jobs that never existed. They reported them, the media celebrated them, the Federal Reserve made policy decisions based on them, and they were fiction. The birth-death model has been systematically overcounting for over a year. The former BLS commissioner was removed in May after these revisions came to light. Trust in these numbers is gone. We are flying blind. Now let's talk about that unemployment rate. The headlines celebrated that unemployment dropped from 4.6% to 4.4%. But that improvement was driven primarily by federal workers returning after the 43-day government shutdown. Seasonal adjustments may not reflect structural changes in retail employment due to automation. But here is what they are not showing you. The long-term unemployed, jobless for 27 weeks or more, hit 1.9 million, up 397,000 over the year, a 26% increase. The U6 underemployment rate sits at 8.5%, up from 7.3% a year ago. The labor market is not improving, it is fracturing. If you are a recent college graduate, the last year has been a nightmare. Unemployment for workers aged 23 to 27 with bachelor's degrees hit 4.59%, up from 3.25% in 2019. Young men with college degrees now have the same unemployment rate as men without degrees, both at roughly 7%. The college wage premium is disappearing. Why? Artificial intelligence. Entry-level white-collar jobs, document review, basic data analysis, administrative coordination, routine programming are being automated. Companies use AI to do the work of junior employees at a fraction of the cost. When those entry-level positions disappear, there is no ladder to climb. You are stuck, drowning in student debt with no way out. The industrial giants need workers, but not just any workers. They need engineers who understand AI systems, data scientists, specialized technicians. The displaced workers, administrative assistants, customer service reps, junior analysts, do not have those skills. We are heading toward a crisis where we have simultaneous high unemployment and severe labor shortages. People who need work cannot do the work that needs to be done. This is structural. This is permanent unless we act. Immigration policy is attacking from another direction. The Trump administration has implemented the most aggressive restrictions in modern history, suspended refugee admissions, ended temporary protected status programs, deployed ICE agents conducting mass deportations, prohibited international students from working after graduation. The National Foundation for American Policy estimates these policies will remove 6.8 million workers by 2028 and 15.7 million by 2035. These are nurses who will not care for your aging parents, construction workers who will not build housing, farm workers who will not harvest food. Since the foreign-born labor force peaked in March, it has fallen by 1.5 million workers, and unemployment for both foreign-born and native-born workers has increased. Removing immigrants does not create jobs for Americans. It destroys entire industries. The federal government itself has cut 277,000 positions since January, a 9.2% reduction. About 100,000 left when the fiscal year ended in September. Their exit showed up as a massive 157,000 job loss in October. Another 50,000 departures will appear in the January report. This is the largest reduction in federal employment in decades, and it is not over. GDP continues growing, driven by productivity gains from AI and strong corporate profits, but employment stagnates or declines. The economy grew at over 4% in the third quarter, but job creation collapsed. Companies produce more with fewer workers. This breaks every model the Federal Reserve uses. If AI allows growth without hiring, the virtuous cycle breaks. Corporate profits soar. The stock market hits records. And millions cannot find work. They cut rates 3 times in late 2025 to 3.50 to 3.75%. The case for cutting is overwhelming. Job growth is anemic. Unemployment is rising. Long-term unemployment is exploding. But inflation is still at 2.7%, above the Fed's 2% target. Wage growth came in at 3.8%, above levels consistent with the inflation target. If they hold steady, they risk letting the labor market collapse into recession. Governor Stephen Mirage is calling for 150 basis points of cuts. He dissented at the December meeting, demanding 50 basis points instead of 25. Cleveland Fed President Hammack and Kansas City Fed President Schmid wanted to hold rates steady. Chair Powell is stuck in the middle, saying the Fed is well positioned to watch and see. Translation, we have no idea what to do. Markets are pricing in 2 cuts, totaling 55 basis points. The Fed's projections show just 1 cut of 25 basis points. Someone is wrong. When the gap is this large, either the Fed adjusts or markets reprice violently. Volatility is coming. Their chief economist estimates underlying job growth at just 39,000 per month after adjusting for distortions, below the level needed to prevent unemployment from rising. But even if the Fed cuts aggressively, it will not solve structural problems. Lower rates cannot retrain displaced workers. They cannot reverse immigration restrictions. They cannot slow AI adoption. At best, rate cuts buy time. At worst, they create asset bubbles without fixing unemployment. Healthcare, government, and leisure and hospitality accounted for 75% of all gains. Everything else was flat or declining. Retail lost 25,000 jobs in December during peak holiday season. Manufacturing showed little change. Professional and business services lost 29,000 jobs. This is not broad-based recovery. This is a few sectors holding up the entire labor market while the rest crumbles, averaging 34,000 jobs per month versus 56,000 in 2024. And many nurses and home health aides are immigrants. If deportations continue, healthcare faces catastrophic shortages, just as baby boomers enter peak medical demand. Wages will explode. Care will become unavailable. The system will break. Small caps are rallied to record highs as investors bet rate cuts will help domestically focused companies. Defense stocks surged after Trump proposed a $1.5 trillion military budget. But beneath the surface, there is fear. Treasury yields rose as traders priced out expected cuts. The dollar strengthened. The stock market is priced for perfection, for continued earnings growth driven by AI productivity. It is not priced for a labor market collapse that crushes consumer spending. It is not priced for recession. If unemployment continues rising, if job growth turns negative, if the consumer cracks under real wage declines, the market will reprice violently. We are talking a 15 to 20% correction minimum. Young workers cannot find careers. Immigrants are being removed, creating shortages. AI is displacing millions without creating replacement opportunities. The Fed is trapped between inflation and unemployment with no good options. The government is cutting its workforce during what may become a recession. This is a systemic failure of the economic model that has governed this country for decades. It is expected to show 25 to 50,000 jobs. The February report could turn negative. If unemployment rises back above 4.6%, panic will set in. The Fed will be forced to cut aggressively. Markets will sell off. The word recession will finally be spoken. But by then, it will be too late for millions who have lost their jobs, burned through savings, and fallen through the cracks. This is what the data is screaming at anyone willing to look past the headlines. The job market is not cooling. It is collapsing in slow motion, one 50,000 job report at a time, one downward revision at a time, one long-term unemployed worker at a time. The AI transformation cannot be stopped, but it can be managed. The immigration restrictions are a policy choice that can be reversed. The workforce can be retrained. The safety net can be strengthened. But none of that is happening. Instead, we are sleepwalking into a crisis that will define the next decade. The December jobs report is not just monthly data. It is a warning that time is running out to change course before the damage becomes irreversible.